My husband doesn't know how to comfort me. And that's, I understand where you're coming from. My name is Paul Friedman. I founded the Marriage Foundation, and I'd like to give you some insight into this. A lot of it, has to do with the fact that your husband is a man. And men are not as connected to their feelings as women are. And sometimes we have to make allowances. But it's not so easy. So I'm going to give you some ideas for how to get him to comfort you. And I'm going to share with you some things that have the opposite effect. In other words, if you do certain things, it will tend to make him less comforting to you, because men are uncomfortable with their own feelings and with your feelings as well. And it's built in. It's innate to a man, because biologically, he's sort of designed, you might say, to be a practical defender, sort of a warrior. And so warriors are always on the edge of war, of fighting for you, of defending you, of being there for you. And that's biologically. And it translates into our modern times in different ways, where men want to provide for their family. They want to beat up the guy who is threatening his family by hitting on his wife, things like that. And so a woman is forced to make some concessions in this area to allow her husband to be who he is and not be impacted, not feel like you're being let down. So how do you do that? Well, the things that you should not do is you shouldn't come to him asking to be comforted in a way where he's going to feel pushed away. So, because of men's tendencies, what you want to do is come to him in a demure way, where you're hurting, but you're not so caught up in self-pity that he's afraid of falling into that self-pity trap. You can do that without expressing the need, but by showing with body language, where maybe you have your head hanging down, sadness, where his tendency is going to be to ask, are you okay? And then instead of going blah, 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 which so many women do, you just say, I guess I'll be okay. You do it more low-key, because you don't want to scare him. And then he will be more receptive to comfort you. Now, if you're just desperate and you want to really express that you have the need, you just put your hand on his hand. Honey, I just need to hold your hand to feel your strength. So you're not saying to him, here's what you need to do. You're letting him know that he is your strength. He is your rock. And you just want to receive some of that energy. Do you see the difference? It can be subtle. But if you're paying attention, you'll realize that your husband is there for you when you need him, but he can't be put in a position of where his masculinity is challenged from his point of view. You have to learn to be sensitive towards him. You want him to be sensitive towards you and understand you. And that's going to take some understanding on your part of him. And, you know, we live in a what about me world right now. Probably it's always been that way. But that's not what marriage is all about. Marriage is all about the other. And I say the same thing to men when they come to me. If you really want to be happy in your marriage, and who doesn't? Isn't that why you got married in the first place, to be happy? You have to make this shift. You have to make this shift to loving him more than your own needs. And I don't say that just to be cute or romantic. It's like an equation. The more love that you give, no, wrong, not the more you will get back. It's not what I was going to say. The more love that you give, the more you will feel. Because that love that you're giving is love. And as you give it, that's when you really feel it. This is a big misconception, by the way, and I don't mean to get off track here, but it's a really important distinction. Everyone wants to be loved, and you are, but to really feel love, you give it, and you will feel the love that you are giving. And that should be your desire, to feel love and not feel loved. It's really an interesting thing. The more you do that, the more you try that, the more you will feel loved anyway. And that goes along with comfort. How often do you comfort your husband? How often do you check in with him? You know, men aren't as demonstrative as women when it comes to expressing their feelings. How often do you look at his face and his eyes and go, wow, he really needs some tenderness now? And then some women blow it. They go, oh, do you need some tenderness? Of course he's going to say, no, I'm fine. But it wouldn't hurt to comfort him, even if he doesn't need the comfort. So you're not taking a risk by comforting him anyway. And for men, oftentimes, usually, being comforted means being treated lovingly sexually too. You know, in this day and age, a lot of women are taught to find that repulsive, which is insane. Because for a man, that's a huge connection of intimacy, is their sexuality. And many women turn their husbands away, turn them off. I have a headache. Oh, you have no idea how tired I am. Oh, you know, I've been with the kids all day. Now's not a good time. Let's plan it. No. If he wants it, give it to him. Why hold back? In a few minutes, you'll be into it too anyway. So there's so much here. There's so much about comforting. But the real trick is to give more than to expect. If you're not already doing that, you're literally draining from your marriage rather than adding to it. And think of your marriage as a container. And what you put into that container, there's only two of you who have the ability to put anything into that container. And if all you're putting into that container is loving support, loving compliments, loving everything, and not putting in the toxic waste of demands and criticism and those kind of things, you'll find that your marriage improves. I hope this was helpful to you. You know, there's a lot of videos in this channel. You ought to subscribe, and you can do that very easily. Also, if you have a comment, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear from you. And if you have a question, you could write in to our counselors. They're on standby. It's a free service from the Marriage Foundation. Or you could put a question in the comments, and I will try my best to get to it. So blessings to you. And remember, the more you learn about marriage, every day, learn a little bit more about marriage for the purpose of improving the happiness and expanding the love. Why not? Okay. Blessings to you and your husband and your family. God bless. Thank you.